Hello. On behalf of the Elections Committee, I'd like to welcome everybody to meet one of our candidates for the Board of Directors. My name is Pete Brown, a former Board of Directors, and our candidate today, I'm very happy to introduce Jeanne Porter to you. Jeanne, welcome aboard.
Thank you, Pete.
Well, first, before we start the actual questions that we've been giving you, got a book to go through, apparently. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Just tell us a little about yourself. Anything.
Okay, well,
We should know.
my husband and I moved here almost 4 years ago, and because of all the things we read about, saw here, and we have been very happy since we moved here. And one of the first things I wanted to do was get involved in the community because that's what I really like to do. So I served as secretary on the elections committee for 3 years. And then I also most recently joined the fitness committee, learning a lot there about the fitness equipment. And I'm a member of the LGA, where I serve on one of the social committees. I also joined the pickleball club, and I am the treasurer for the pickleball club board. And I'm a member of the Lions Club, where I am the chairperson of the social committee. I also serve on the blood drive committee and the teacher grants committee for that. And I joined the art club as well. I'm an art enthusiast, and I like to assist the artists with some of their events that they put on. I have experience with 2 different referendums asking people to vote, collect ballots, count ballots, and assisting with the collection or election activities. I learned the importance of submitting elections committee minutes and documents to the community support on a regular basis. Volunteering as treasurer for the pickleball club, I get to help create the budget, do the monthly reports, as well as help manage the finances, and then keep the Excel sheet on our members and our directory. As a member of the Lions Club, I learn more and more about what happens inside our community as well outside our community, and learning we're a much bigger part of an even bigger community. The art club, I learned to appreciate all the talent that exists here at Lake of the Woods and all the residents and what they have to offer.
Wow, you have jammed a lot in 4 years. So, well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
So you've kind of covered some of the questions that the elections committee provided here. Tell me, when you're on the board, what would be your plan to kind of get opinions and ideas from our membership?
Okay, well, I have an idea. Okay, this is an old question. It comes up every year, I'll tell you. But I think we should start a welcome wagon subcommittee of an already existing committee. This group of volunteers would be responsible for adopting a buddy family who is new to the neighborhood for the coming year. They would help the new family navigate through all of the paperwork, introduce them to the amenities, connect them to people who have similar interests and situations, and discuss with them the importance of their civic duties to help our Lake of the Woods community represent all the people who live here.
Well, very good idea. Tell us a little bit just why we should vote for you, Jeanne.
Well, number one, I have a lot of common sense, and I've been on a lot of volunteer committees, and I know how to get along. Some of my first volunteer positions were in the church, and working with church people. Some of you will know how that is. And then also, I was the first administrative hire for the preschool that my children went to. I took the school through their first accreditation, through state licensing, and at that time, starting, meeting all the requirements for the Americans with Disabilities Act. As the director of the free school, I was responsible for hiring, enrollment, the budget, managing the finances, as well as finding outside resources and funding. I also served my HOA board in Leesburg as secretary. We were faced with a defunct and bankrupt golf course through no fault of our own. I was involved in the research and the final outcome when the HOA was finally able to purchase the 350-acre golf course property for past taxes on the courthouse steps. I also served the HOA on the Design and Review Committee, which is like our ECC, where I help people understand what they could and could not do when building or renovating. I generally do not take things personally that happen in the boardroom. I'm timely and I get things done. And if I say I will do something, I will do it.
Now, board duties you've had some experience there. It said here it's 15 to 40 hours a week. I think that 15 may be a little bit on the low side from my personal experience, but how are you and your family prepared for this type of time commitment?
Well, first of all, I'm really good at time management and keeping focused. Secondly, my husband volunteers quite a bit, and I'm used to him carrying around binders and folders and going to meetings. So I anticipate that we will do our paperwork together and that we will try to coordinate our out-of-the-house meetings as much as possible. And the rest of my family understands that I have always loved serving on a volunteer board.
Very good. Okay, now, social media. Around here, we have our official Lake of the Woods Facebook page, but there are 2 or 3 others. Sometimes some of those things are less than harmonious. Sometimes there's good information. Sometimes there's just a lot of opinion. Tell me what your perspective on the opportunities these things might present for us to use.
Well, that's a hard question for me because I am not a big social media girl. I probably can't tell you anything that was the latest on there unless somebody told me. I think that anything shared on social media, it's great. If you want to tell us something good, please do. But if you have discontent, better to go to an individual where you might get some satisfaction. I think the other thing is how we as an organization or association can make use of it, just putting out there, using it like for advertising, basically. What are we doing here? What's happening good? Put in personal great stories, who won this, who ran the race, who did whatever. Just use it for the good stuff because there is no future in this going back and forth. And I personally have no patience for whining. So,
okay. Well, now here's an oddball question that our elections committee came up with. Who is your favorite leader and why?
I thought that was an oddball question too. But I'm going to choose someone I know well.
Okay.
My husband.
Okay.
Dan. Okay. He has been a leader in his career and in his volunteer work. He lifts up his colleagues and helps them recognize their ability and shines the light on their achievements. It's not about them, or not about him, but sorry. It is all about them. It's about launching them into being more than they knew they could be. So they have loved him, and so have I.
Very good. All righty. He's going to be happy with that answer, I bet you. Fiduciary responsibility. All board members have fiduciary responsibility to LOA, the Lake of the Woods Association. Are there anything that you would see that might conflict with you serving?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I desire only to serve the association and the members and make decisions that will benefit them. And I'm objective, I'm honest, I'm trustworthy, and I don't play favorites.
Operations questions here. We have a lot of projects going on now. Stormwater improvement. We have roadway issues all the time, asphalt, health for our lakes, etc. How would you prioritize these types of capital projects, and what would you see as a possible funding source other than our annual assessment?
Okay, well, all these projects listed are important, and not everything can be done in one fell swoop. The health of the lakes is number one. You cannot be Lake of the Woods without a lake. The dredging that was done over the winter at Keaton's Lake is expected to have a positive effect by not having the problem with the blooms this summer. Sadly, right now, we have a problem possibly with E. coli and have had to close that lake. I understand plans are in progress to add an additional front gate at Shoesmith for the people outside of Lake of the Woods to access the compactor. I suppose we have approximately 4,000 culverts and 35 miles of paved roads and ditches. They're on schedule to be worked on continuously. The sooner all the chip and tar roads are paved with asphalt, the better our lakes will be. Work should begin soon on adding a lane for member guests with barcodes at the main gate. It's a rude awakening when you learn how much these projects cost. I hope to be on the board that does find some outside funding. What kinds of government grants are there? We are a nonprofit and can accept people's money as gifts as well as endowments. We also could have a GoFundMe. We need to take into consideration the report from the Ad Hoc Finance Committee report of October 2023, which outlined outside funding sources which do not require a referendum.
Good. We are governed by a set of documents. Do you know the differences between our bylaws, covenants, rules, and regulations?
Well, I'm familiar with these documents. Each of them has a distinct purpose and a distinct order. The highest is the bylaws. They generally define things. They give us our name, the purpose, the requirements for membership, the officers, duties, things like that. And they are extremely difficult to change. Or the covenants, okay? So define our restrictions with neighbor and how our neighborhood operates. They regulate how the property and common areas are used. So they can be amended, but they require 50% of the voting members plus one. And then to pass anything or reject anything, 50% of that voting group plus one. And I think everybody now understands that after what we've just been through with the referendum. Rules and regulations, much simpler. They're guidelines for the community members to create and govern the neighborhood. It can be as simple as parking, or where you can park, or what you do with your pets. Simple things like that. They can be added to and changed pretty easily.
What is your understanding of the board's role and with the board's governance role and how that relates to and interacts with the general manager?
Well, first, the board and the general manager need to collaborate effectively. The board is responsible for setting the overall strategy and the direction of our HOA, our organization. The general manager is responsible for the day-to-day operations and the implementation of that strategy. The general manager works for the board. The person who speaks for the board is the president of the board. In the perfect world, the board sees everything the same way. And in the perfect world, so does the general manager. The committees exist to help the board with their insights.
Okay. Now, LOA is a non-stock corporation. Can you explain what that means and how it affects our membership?
We are a non-stock corporation with members. So the Virginia Non-Stock Corporation is formed for non-profit organizations, which is what we are, which means that there's no stock, there's no dividends that can be distributed to the officers or any of the members of the association.
Now, one of the most important things that we have here in a 50-plus-year-old community is a lot of need of maintenance and things. Can you explain something about our LOA's reserve policy and why it's important to our future?
Well, the replacement reserve study provides an inventory of the common community facilities and then the infrastructure components that will require periodic replacement. A general review of the condition of these facilities and components, as well as an effective financial plan to fund the periodic replacements. It protects us as homeowners from the burden of special assessments when facilities and components need to be replaced.
Looking out in front of change, that's the role of the leader, not being behind it and being reactive, but trying to be proactive. How would you rate Lowe's performance in this regard to date, and any suggestions you might have?
I think the board's been very good at keeping us informed about Wilderness Crossing, Flat Run Farm, and VDOT. I believe the board has a good understanding of how important it is for us to be a part of the conversation with anything that has to do with Wilderness Crossing, that we need to be there when Flat Run Farm comes up for sale, and keeping apprised of any plans going forward with VDOT outside our front gate on Route 3.
Okay. We're often talking about sources of funding. That comes up often. As an aging community with lots being very, very sparse to build new houses, what are suggestions would you have for managing costs? And please be specific.
Well, I hate to say it, but I think it's simple. Do not overspend the budget. The annual budget needs to reflect achievable objectives for each amenity. And I stress the word achievable. Don't dream too big. And then each amenity manager should put their request for expenditures through the general manager for approval. The managers are responsible for meeting the agreed cost. And that's where we're falling short. Managers should be incentivized to outperform their plans.
Now, you're going to run into be on a board of directors of 7 people. You get 1 vote. So in order for some of your ideas to pass, you'd have to have at least 4 people agree with them. It's not always going to happen, but what would be your ideas for trying to get the engagement to get 4 people to go along with you?
Well, I like to hear other people's ideas and consider how they may or may not be implemented. Every idea is not a good idea, and I'm not afraid to say so. I can see where the board may be split 3 to 4, and it may not give you confidence in your group decision because some issues are more delicate. It is more prudent to meet one-on-one with 1 or 2 other board members outside the boardroom to discuss some matters before they come up for a vote. This would be the time to pick up 1 or 2 more votes.
Okay. Now, labor issues. You hear that not just here at Lake of the Woods, but everywhere. So we have about 150 plus employees at Lake of the Woods, and trying to keep the necessary number of people. You can see it sometimes we're short-staffed in areas. What is your opinion regarding our labor challenges?
Well, I'll start with what I think is the number one, okay? And that is, why do we have such high turnover? And employees stay or leave depending upon who they work for, who they work with, and what they do. If any one of these is unset, then they will be looking for greener pastures. And I think that's where we need to really take a hard look.
Okay. The last one on here says we have food service operation. We have recently reviewed a consultant report, information from our members through a clubhouse survey. Give us your thoughts on food service challenges and what you hope to see as the next step.
Well, I believe the current board has taken the steps to begin to find the solutions by hiring the consultant. Everyone I have ever talked to only wants success for the fairways and the clubhouse. The easy answer to this question is, let's just wait and see the report from the consultant. Right now, we just hired a new food and beverage manager, and he should be open to change. And I call this a win-win.
Very good. Well, anything you want to say to our membership in parting here, Jeanne?
Well, people have been asking me why I want to serve on the board of directors. The short answer is I like to be involved in decisions that affect me. I like to be involved in my community, and joining the LOA board is just an extension of that desire. I'm especially interested in the success of our 2 restaurants, the health of our 2 lakes, making the best use of spaces and places that we already own, keeping our eyes on what is happening outside our main and back gates, and finally but not least, living within our budget and finding some outside resources so that we can keep our HOA assessment as reasonable.
Well, Jeanne, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure meeting you today, and I wish you luck, and we'll see what happens in September. So thank you very much.
Thank you.